Have you ever felt like God went silent right when you needed Him most? Today is the 19th Sunday in Ordinary Time. In the first reading, Elijah finds God not in the fire, but in something almost too quiet to hear. The psalm waits on something spoken, not shown. Paul listens so closely, he takes on God's own heart for his people. And Peter learns that walking on water depends entirely on what he's listening to. 4 readings, one common thread running underneath all of them. Welcome to the Catholic Wellsprings Sunday Mass Readings Explained. Let's begin. Elijah just won a massive battle, calling down fire from heaven to defeat 450 enemy prophets. But now the queen wants him dead, and he's hiding in a cave, terrified and exhausted. God tells him, "Go outside and stand on the mountain before the Lord. The Lord will be passing by." A wind strong enough to tear mountains apart comes, the kind God has used before. But the Lord was not in the wind. Then an earthquake. The Lord was not in the earthquake. Then fire. The Lord was not in the fire. And after all that, a tiny whispering sound. That's the Hebrew called Demamah, Dakkah, literally, a voice of thin silence, not the absence of sound, but a sound made of stillness. Elijah learns the biggest miracles and the loudest moments aren't where God meets you. The whisper is, you're chasing the big moment, the perfect grade, the viral post, the answer to prayer. God is speaking in the quiet ones, alone, unwatched, just you and your conscience. Most of the time, you're too distracted to hear it. The response is, "Lord, let us see your kindness and grant us your salvation," a plea to hear God's voice again. The psalmist answers his own plea. "I will hear what God proclaims. The Lord proclaims peace." Notice it said here, not see, not feel the earthquake, and what he proclaims is peace. Then this image, kindness and truth shall meet. Justice and peace shall kiss. Kindness here isn't just niceness. It's covenant love, a promise God keeps even when you don't deserve it. Most of us think of God as the judge, keeping score, waiting to punish us. But here, kindness and justice aren't enemies, they embrace. That means God is for you. His justice works for you, not against you. Justice shall walk before him and prepare the way of his steps. You only discover that if you're quiet enough to hear him say, "I am on your side." Paul writes, "I have great sorrow and constant anguish in my heart. I could wish that I myself were accursed and cut off from Christ for the sake of my own people." His people are Israel, his own kinsmen who received the covenants, the law, the promises, even the Messiah himself, born from their bloodline. And still, many didn't recognize Jesus as that Messiah. That's the wound behind Paul's sorrow. He's saying he'd give up his own place with Christ if it meant his people could have it instead. That's how deeply Paul has heard God's voice. When you really listen to God, you develop his heart, you feel what he feels. Their rejection of the Messiah causes Paul real pain. He's suffering with them. True faith doesn't just comfort you, it transforms you. Jesus had just fed the 5,000. Right after, he sends the disciples ahead and goes off alone to pray. Even after a miracle, he wants time alone with God. The disciples are out on the water, exhausted, rowing against a storm, and utterly alone. It's the fourth watch, the last stretch before dawn, when exhaustion is heaviest. That's when they see someone walking on the water and panic, thinking it's a ghost. Jesus says, "Take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid." Peter, always bold, says, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." He wants to walk with Jesus, not just watch from the boat. Jesus says, "Come." Peter gets out and walks on water, doing the impossible because he's focused on Jesus' voice, not his own ability. But then, he saw how strong the wind was and shifted his focus from Jesus to the storm. Immediately, he became frightened, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me." Peter's faith wasn't about being brave or smart. It was about listening to Jesus' voice. The moment he started listening to the storm instead, he sank. Jesus reaches out and catches him. The wind dies down. Jesus' presence changes the situation, and the disciples move from terror to worship. Truly, you are the Son of God. Your life works the same way. You're listening to different voices. Fear, friends, social media. Faith means choosing Jesus' voice above the noise. When he says, "Come," you come. Faith isn't about understanding everything. It's about encountering Jesus in your fear and discovering he is real, present, and trustworthy. See the pattern? Elijah, the Psalm, Paul, Peter. Every reading today comes back to one word: voice. But not just any voice. Listening for God's voice amid chaos and waiting long enough to hear it. Elijah finds God not in the wind or the fire, but in a voice of thin silence. The psalm waits to hear the Lord's voice proclaim peace. Paul is so tuned to that voice that he takes on God's own heart for his people. Peter walks on water as long as he's listening to Jesus' voice, and sinks the moment he listens to the storms instead. Your world is loud. Your phone, your insecurities, the pressure to be someone you're not. But God has a voice in all of it saying, "I'm here. I'm for you. I love you. Follow me." The question is, are you quiet enough to hear it? Before you go to Mass, pray this: Lord, speak to us in the whisper beneath the noise. When we're afraid and sinking, give us ears to hear you say, "I am here." Here's something to sit with in the pew. This week, let God's voice be louder than your fear. Follow it, even when everything else is screaming. If this helped you understand this Sunday's readings, like the video and subscribe so you don't miss next Sunday's breakdown. Share it with someone in your parish and drop a comment with what stood out to you. I'll see you at Mass.